Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
What an absolute bloodbath. And quite frankly, I still think Andy Reid took it easy on the Raiders. I almost felt bad. And then I remembered, I don't feel bad. It's the Raiders. Gardner Minshew entered the game in the third quarter. Kneel downs happened prior to the 2-minute warning, and it's a 31-0 victory for KC. Sterling Holmes, Bryce Carter, Adam Best. What's funny is, how often do you go into a game and all you expect is this? But then it almost never happens. You start talking yourself into, well, it's the AFC West, and they always play each other close, and Geno Smith's a veteran, and Pete Carroll's a great head coach. And then you realize, no, this is how it was drawn up. Rashee Rice gets a couple touchdowns. First touchdown of the game is a little pop pass to him. Patrick is back to being the greatest quarterback to ever walk the planet. And oh yeah, the O-line dominates. Boys, we'll start with you, Best. My goodness, initial thoughts.
Yeah, I want to apologize to our audience for being so incorrect, so wildly incorrect with my prediction this week. I predicted the Chiefs to win 33-10, and I drastically overrated the Raiders. I just want to apologize for that. It was crazy. I mean, I'm not sure if that was actually vodka, but it looked like Chris Jones was sipping some Grey Goose before the fourth quarter even started. That's how out of hand this got. So much for the return to respectability that Geno Smith and Pete Carroll were supposed to bring this organization. Al Davis rolling over in his grave, and Rashee Rice, my God, Andy Reid released the Kraken. And I mean, what a thing of beauty when the Chiefs went 5 wide and you saw Rashee, Xavier, Hollywood, Tyquan, and Juju. The league has to be shaken in its boots. Man, I can't remember a game this fun. Not fun for a Raiders fan, but for us, wow.
Bryce?
Yeah, I really think the best way to measure this game is to go back to what the last couple of Raiders games have been for this team. They lose the Christmas Day debacle in 2023, the game that kind of ended up turning the tide for that team to win a Super Bowl. The last 2 years, it was a struggle in Las Vegas. It was nasty to win that game. It was tough. Mahomes threw a brutal pick in in their own end zone in that game. And then a drop snap by Aiden O'Connell away from losing the game on Black Friday. All those games, the Chiefs were expected to be favorites and heavy favorites and the far better talented team. And by the way, those Raiders teams, one of them had an interim coach, and then the other one might as well have an interim coach, because at that point you knew that their coach was getting fired. And this game, like Adam said, this is supposed to be the return to respectability. By God, they got Tom Brady in the building. Surely hiring a former great player as, a front office personnel totally works. Like, we've seen that with great GMs like Michael Jordan. And they bring in Pete Carroll, this winning coach. They bring in Geno Smith, who every NFL podcaster with a mic tries to tell me is a great quarterback, and I've never seen it. Like, I don't know when he does that. Maybe it's a West Coast thing. I don't know. They spend a 7th overall pick on a luxury and a running back when Armand Membu, the far better player, went to the team behind them. And their best players are out in this game. Their best left tackles out in this game. And it was a bloodletting. Like, the fact that the Chiefs should have been beating up on the Raiders like this the last couple times they faced them, and they couldn't, and then they can. That's what matters in this game. Like, the thing that matters most to me is the fact that this was supposed to be an ass kicking, and it was an ass kicking. The Chiefs haven't been capable of that. If you watch the Kingdom documentary, they were pissed after barely beating the Panthers. That was an equally terrible team. And they can now do this. Right? This is the third time in NFL history, that a team has had, fourth time, 30 first downs while holding the opposition to 3 first downs. That's crazy. That's crazy. This is an absolute ass kicking. Congrats to Andy Reid on his first ever career shutout in the regular season. They won 30-0 in 2015 against the Brian Hoyer-led Texans. But this was an ass kicking, and they made it happen. And that's what's noteworthy.
Yeah, again, the Chiefs this year have been unique. They've lost close games and yet won by big scores in the games they've won. This is a change of pace for KC. Want to give a shout out to Angry Drunken German. Appreciate you sending 10 memberships. If you got one of those memberships, Richard will help you out there. Join the Discord. Let's have some fun. Also, shout out to Wiley Possum for the super chat. Pat Ford MVP. Let's kick it. Rice baby. Too cold. EGE. Everybody gotta eat. Patrick Ford MVP. Again, I've been saying for a couple weeks now, but this is a legit MVP caliber season for Patrick. It looks like Antonio Pierce forgot to leave the recipe for Pete Carroll. If he left the recipe, it was the complete wrong recipe. I guess he left one part of it, which was make your quarterback look like ass and don't complete a pass. I mean, that part was true. I think that part was the recipe that Antonio Pierce did leave. So let's get into the offensive side of things here. Rashee Rice, obviously, that's the big storyline. He is back. I think we all assumed what's going to happen on that first time, at least the first drive for KC. At least I did. Pop pass to Rashee. That felt very obvious. They love doing that when Josh Gordon joined KC. They did a little screen pass in the red zone to get him an easy touchdown as well. With Rashee Rice coming back, to me, my opinion was I think Travis Kelce is going to start feasting even more because now you're seeing strictly linebackers almost on him. You can't leave fast guys. You can't leave corners. You can't put Travis Hunter on him when Rashee Rice is on the field. What was your thought and just takeaway of Rashee Rice coming back and how much it opened up for the rest of the offense?
Well, now you can't double Worthy. You can't double Kelce. The attention has to be on number 4 because he's the best player, the best weapon that Mahomes has in this offense. So it's just going to really open things up. I mean, Travis Kelce is now like a tertiary concern for the defense. Like probably honestly their third biggest concern, and he's still just way too dangerous to be in that position. So, and then you throw in Brashard Smith, who I think really came to the forefront in this game and started showing just a peak of maybe he can become Jerick McKinnon if he learns to pass protect, because he is really explosive and adds another element. So we've been waiting to see Hollywood, Xavier, and Rashee together. But I think it's just better than we ever imagined because now you have Tyquan, now you have Brashard. And keep in mind, no Josh Simmons for most of the game, no Trey Smith, and they were still handling their business.
Yeah, and to your point, Adam, I mean, really, if you're a defense, what are you supposed to do? Your ultimate dream is get home with 4, played solid zone defense behind, get enough pressure on Mahomes, shut down the run game, and just hope that they are perfect or try to stop them from being perfect at executing. But the Chiefs have had to live this way the last couple of years where everything's short and intermediate and timing because the defense is crashing down on them. Well, now if you want to play that way, they have 2 to 3 guys who can legitimately stretch the field, down the field. And, Tyquan Thornton's gotten quieter here lately simply because there's only one football. But we've seen real down the field chemistry. I thought one of the most important plays of today was the deep downfield pass to him to keep him a relevant threat. You still have Worthy, you still have Brown, all field stretchers. So if you want to try to get back there and play too high and keep everything in front of you, Kelce and Rice are going to feast underneath. Juju still had a good game. The run game's getting a little bit more solid. And then if you just want to do the inverse, then yeah, they will throw the ball over your head. And keep in mind, they did this without, at one point, 3 out of their 5 starting offensive linemen. That's probably the other significant thing here is the health of Trey Smith and, Juwan Taylor. And then obviously what's the situation with Josh Simmons. But they were doing this without a big part of their offensive line for a big chunk of this game, and it still looked easy. So this offense is so versatile, and I can't go unrecognized too. The buy-in here, like the everybody got to eat thing. That's not a Rashee Rice superstar thing. That's not Jay Jettas. That's not Cheetah. That's everybody buying in. That's Travis Kelce, a future first ballot Hall of Famer, being cool with the fact that he's the 5th or 6th option. Hollywood Brown, a former number 1. Xavier Worthy, a top first-round pick. Everyone is cool with this plan and it working, and it is working, and the box score shows that.
So I want to get into the defense a little later on because they deserve so much credit and the offense is getting all the love, and I think they will get all the love, and deservedly so, that they should get a lot of praise. what the defense did was phenomenal. The best, in my opinion, pass rush we have seen from KC with just 4 guys all season long. That'll be a little later on in the show. I love this from Jeremy. Only bad side of winning so overwhelmingly, Sterling is drinking water rather than bourbon. Good call. I gave my dad my Blantons for his birthday. I was a generous man. I see this super chat from B. FTR. Does that stand for feed the rice, or does that stand for bleep the Raiders? I think either one's apropos in this specific moment. Let's talk offensive line, because I think they deserve so much credit. And we've talked, at least I've talked, I think a ton about Kingsley Suamataia and his growth. But yet again, this is now his 4th really good game in a row. He is stacking game upon game of great film. I get the Raiders aren't the best defensive line in football. I understand. And I know Maxx Crosby went out early. I get that. But what this offensive line is doing with now even backups in the game is dominating in the trenches. They're opening up holes for their running backs. They're giving Patrick Mahomes time. I've just been beyond impressed with the growth of this offensive line, because it went into this year. My thoughts are, man, Andy Heck is on the hot seat, to right now saying, oh my gosh, this is playing like one of the best offensive lines in all of football.
Not much to add there. I thought Mike Caliendo looked pretty good. Jalen Moore obviously looked good. Hopefully, Jawan Taylor, I heard late in the game, he's dealing with a shoulder now. So that's what you're concerned about going forward, is just as they start to gel, just as they start to form continuity, they're falling apart a little bit. I assume Trey Smith in a more competitive game probably would have given it a go. That's just speculation. But there were, 65 wasn't needed today. And I think you're right. 76, Kingsley Suamataia, guard was just a completely new journey for him. And after some scary moments in the preseason, he has really adapted quickly. And they said, Kingsley, you're going to sink or swim. And it looked like he was going to sink, but now he's Michael Phelpson, man. He really is.
Yeah, and I think Sterling did a great job calling out Andy Heck. I mean, this was kind of a make or break year for him. I'm not going to speculate on the security of his job, but there was so many resources invested in this offensive line. When you factor in draft picks, when you factor in contracts and salary cap, this is like easily one of the most, if not the most expensive offensive lines in football. It needed to be good, and it has been, to their credit. So shout out to them for, finishing and like making that work. And yeah, player development with Kingsley Suamataia. I think all of us sat here in the preseason were a little concerned about him. He's stacked good game after good game, and that's what it takes. So shout out to them for being able to do that. And then I know it's already been said many times, but the Jalen Moore contract, man, just how clutch that has come in for them. And then also, like, let's just say this, Christian Fulton's been a healthy scratch the last 2 weeks. That kind of contract could look the same way, where right now, what is that? But if they do lose a starting corner, they've got that depth, and those are weak leak systems, cornerbacks and offensive line. So great value on those contracts, and they're already paying off.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sunk cost, but the way Noah Williams has played, you don't need Christian Fulton. Don't mess with a good thing. I'm glad they're not going with, well, whoever's getting paid the most money,
Yes.
that's who we're starting. They're going with who is the better player. And I get you could still have him on your active roster, but he's not playing special teams. Joshua Williams, Christian Roland Wallace, those guys do. I understand it's a great insurance policy to have just in case. A couple of super chats I want to get to. One from Edric. Appreciate you, Edric. Says, 4 is back in rinse due, mother bleep. NFL's officially on notice. Let's go, Chiefs. Another one from Tone. Appreciate you. We were so in the zone today. Even Butker was perfect today. Yeah, nice to see, right, guys? I mean, Harrison Butker was best game. I know he wasn't called upon to do a lot. I know there was a time when there would have been a 55-ish yard field goal, and the Chiefs decided to punt. I guess don't give any momentum just in case if he were to miss. I guess we can touch on that briefly right here. Were you surprised that they decided to punt? I think Ariza, yet again, I've praised him all season long. I've tried to shout him out for improving some of his touch, and he had another great performance of all these kicks inside the 20. Were you surprised that they punted on one of those when it would have been about a 55-yarder? Although I will say it was nice to see Butker have a clean game.
Yeah, I think that they were probably just showing some respectability there. I'll say this, like kind of going into that. How about that play fake by Patrick Mahomes where he's like, this effing stuff never effing works. Like, I don't see why teams don't do that all the time. Like, they come out and they do the hard count. It's like, okay, they're clearly trying to draw them off sides, catch them napping, and then snap it. Like that, I totally think that the team should do that more often. Like, that's the type of stuff. And credit to Mahomes for selling the fake there. But I think Andy Reid has been aggressive, and let's be clear, that paid off in a big way. Here's how the Chiefs' drive chart goes: touchdown, 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 field goal. And then Gardner Minshew comes in the game. So Patrick Mahomes led a scoring drive every single time, 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Like, that'll do. And part of that is they extended some of those drives by going for it on 4th downs. I am very glad to see that Andy Reid is getting more and more aggressive. And if it took a few bad weeks of Harrison Butker for Andy Reid to get back on the train, you might as well, because having to stop this offense with 4 tries for 10 yards just seems virtually impossible at this point.
You know, Sterling, it was reminiscent of a play we've talked about a lot, the fake spike. I know you love the fake spike, right?
Team fake spike so hard.
And it like works. And this kind of stuff, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has all this acting practice. So does Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. Why not incorporate it into the game? I just think it's kind of Andy's MO. Andy is a kind of merciful coach. He's not like, I'm trying to think of one of these coaches, that Dan Campbell or Mike Martz, that just wants to pour it on you. But it was hilarious to me that Jim Nantz and Tony Romo were joking about the punt god could have just shown up in the 4th quarter. I mean, if you're a Raiders fan, this game just had to be the most demoralizing experience, because Nantz and Romo were just cracking jokes. And Nantz even got, Buffalo was even catching strays there, because he said, 13 seconds. We've never seen Mahomes do something with 13 seconds before. I'm just thinking, man, this is if there's a heaven on earth, this game is it right here.
What a weekend. If you are a Mizzou alum, a Mizzou fan, I see that from Weston. Sterling had a late night with Mizzou and then a belt to ass game today. What a weekend. Yeah, Mizzou goes down to Auburn, gets a win in double overtime. And then at least this was a lot more relaxing. The Chiefs taking care of business. When we look at the outlook going forward for the offense before we start shifting to the defense here, is this the new expectation? Is this the expectation that basically the 2019, 2022 offense, this is back? Or are we all on board saying that, yes, this is who they are?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to call for one of the greatest offenses in NFL history, kind of like what 2018 was, but I think the 2019-22 comparisons are pretty fair. I would like to see a measuring stick of a really good defense. I know the Jaguars kind of grayed out like that, but I think the London game is starting to tell on them a little bit. And also keep in mind the Chiefs, they've got some solid defenses coming up here. They've got 2 games against the Broncos. That's probably the best defense on their schedule. Next week against the Commanders will be interesting, but let me tell you, if you're a Bills fan, how do you think that they feel watching that game? They're sitting there on bye, 2 losses. Their defense cannot stop anybody, and they're saving hope as a rookie who has not played at all this season, and Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi. That's who they're hoping is coming to save their season on defense. So I think you should comfortably feel like, 24, 27 points weekly should be the expectation. And then these bad defenses, it really seems like they have the ability to carve them up, especially whenever you factor in like the offensive line wasn't at 100% and how good Mahomes has been with his legs. I mean, that's just one thing that I just keep coming back to is his ability to avoid negative plays where, okay, it's not a sack, it's a 2-yard rush instead. And I think he got sacked once in this game. And even that was like, a sack for like 1 or 2 yards. And now this is the biggest thing. I think they said they converted 3rd and 14 like 3 times in this game. When does that ever happen? It used to be like, oh, Juwan Taylor, false start, game over. Like, this drive's over, just punt the ball already. And now this is how the Chiefs offense used to be. It used to be 3rd and whatever. I remember there were shirts in Kansas City that said that because it didn't matter because Kelce, Tyreek, they were going to make it happen. And that's back, right? Where they have that ability. And a screen game to Brashard Smith. The explosiveness in this offense is back. Last year, the Chiefs ranked 30th in 20-yard air yard attempts. So passes traveling over 20 yards in the air. They might have surpassed that in this game. Obviously, I don't have the stats on that yet, but I mean, man, the offense is so back, and it does feel like we can count on this.
Man, they just have such a plethora of weapons. They can kill you with Colonel Mustard and the candlestick or Professor Plum and the pipe. They just have so many ways to get it done. And what this does when the offense is pouring on points like this is how Chris Jones and the defense likes to play. If you're Spags and you just want the luxury of knowing that if you give up an explosive play, it's fine because Patrick Mahomes can bail you out. You can just really pin your ears back and get after quarterbacks. And Geno Smith just never stood a chance. For me, it's just really exciting. Last year, they played down to the level of their competition. They could have played, a local high school team and probably won by like a last-minute field goal. This year, they are no longer doing that. They are no longer playing with their food. They are taking care of business, not only with bad teams, but also with good teams. When they get a lead, their foot isn't coming off the gas much. And I know Andy Reid isn't one to like really, really run up the score, but they are, I think, they are they are finishers this year in a way they weren't last year. And honestly, guys, I think the 2025 Chiefs would boat race the 2024 Chiefs. I really do.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement as well. I also think the play calling yet again, a couple of weeks in a row now, has been really creative. And I've been a huge fan. The fake screen to Noah Gray or Brashard Smith, and then it was a great pass to Noah Gray for 28 yards. Some of the intricacies down. I mean, even the play that was a false start with Gardner Minshew in the game and Mahomes lined up as the running back would have worked. I keep going back and back to thinking how impressive and creative the play calls have been the past few weeks. Very impressed there. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball now. Let's start with the defensive line. That's been the biggest concern all season long. Again, we'll keep an eye on Omar Norman-Lott, but you saw Chris Jones take over this game. The first drive of the game was him. He won so quick. It was a hold, and they couldn't pick up a long third down. I thought Chris Jones had his best game of the season. I thought Charles Omenihu had his best game of the season as well. What was your guys' takeaway? Because to me, it almost sounded like, again, I know the Raiders' offensive line isn't great, but this to me felt like a defensive line that was tired of hearing the Chiefs needed trade for a pass rush. The Chiefs need this, that, and the other. And they go, no. We have some juice here. We'll step up. And they did step up. What was your guys' takeaway?
I haven't seen Chris Jones violate a player like he did Jackson Powers Johnson in a while. I mean, that guy's going to have nightmares about 95. Just completely had his way with him and was basically teleporting into the backfield, causing sacks, causing cleanup sacks, causing penalties. He's the sun that this defense revolves around. And when he is not playing up to that level where, he's expected to play to, the rest of the defense just doesn't function well. But when he does, they're almost unbeatable. When Chris Jones is playing like this and the offense is on fire, there's not a team in this league that can beat the Chiefs if they play like they did today.
Yeah, I thought for the pass rush, this was kind of more par for the course for what we've seen. As far as the pressure rate is really high. Like it felt like there were so many almost sacks. They only actually get one in the box score. One was erased by a penalty that Charles Omenihu had. They were definitely generating a ton of pressure. Not a ton of sacks, but honestly, guys, this game was so non-competitive so quickly that it almost felt like the Chiefs offense was playing defense so effectively that the pressure is just on the Raiders. But I thought this was a good showing for the defensive line. I thought I saw a good snap from Derek Nottie. Like he made a nice tackle on Ashton Genty. It felt like the pursuit was pretty relentless. Like, Gelati, Karlaftis, those guys are so good at chasing stuff from the back end of a play. So overall, I thought it was a good showing for the defensive line. I don't know that if you're going to look in the box score and say, okay, well, we can just, erase any need for another pass rusher, especially with Pete Sweeney's reporting that Omar Norman-Lott is going for an MRI, which usually doesn't sound super optimistic. We don't know. But yeah, I think like it's still the bigger need, but you cannot complain about the performance today. A shutout in the NFL is so rare, and this performance is just so dominant by the entire defense.
Yeah, again, when you just look back, I get the sack numbers, and it's funny to me to an extent. I thought Ashton Gelati was going to get credit for a sack when Geno Smith basically gave himself up. And I was like, is that going to be a sack for Gelati? That was early in the game. But to me, the tone was set by Chris Jones early. And then in the secondary, I thought it was set by Jalen Watson. that one of that first plays was Jalen Watson having a really nice rep. I think it was against Trey Tucker, or maybe it was against Thornton. And that was it. That set the tone, the physicality, all right, it's not just going to be the offense. We're talking about Rashee Rice being back. We're talking about the offense being back. But the defense is still here, and it's still a backbone of this team. This has been the backbone for a couple of years now. They've been inconsistent this season, but this was a game where they really stepped up, again, in all three levels. I can't think of a single play, really, where I'm like, yeah, there was miscommunication, or a single play where I go, all right, the Raiders really got that one. It was great tackling. It was understanding, and they just confused Geno Smith and held Ashton Jeanty to, what was it on the ground? I even have the numbers in front of me. I mean, they only ran was like 24 plays. It was a historic low to an extent. It was one of the lowest snap counts offensively for a team in NFL history. Not the lowest, but a very low number. Ashton Jeanty only had 21 yards. 21 yards for Ashton Jeanty in this game. That'll play.
And we've seen this with the Ravens, with the Lions, these teams that want to come in and shove the ball down your throat. The Chiefs build a lead and force them into a pass-heavy game script. And again, that's where Steve Spagnuolo and this defense want to live. They want your offense to be one-dimensional so they can, send the dogs. You know what I mean? And I think that is when this defense is at its best. It's just a great thing to see because the league is a little bit more run heavy. But you wouldn't know it by being a Chiefs fan because the Chiefs are their drop back rate over expected is the highest in the league. So they're really zigging when everybody else is zagging, but it doesn't matter. They're imposing their will on these other teams, and it's working beautifully.
Go ahead, Bryce.
Oh, I was just going to say, someone here in the chat mentioned that the Raiders' top three offensive players were down in this game: Colton Miller, Brock Bowers, and Jacoby Myers. I mean, yes, that's very, very true. And they literally could not have played better. Like, if it was possible for a defense to give up negative points, they probably could have. They were absolutely dominant. They did exactly what they were asked to. If you're a Chase fan, you should not feel bad about that one bit. Whether it be the Ravens loss where they were all dinged, or the Ravens win where they were all dinged up, like the Chiefs are doing what they have to. This is part of the season. At the end of the year, when you look back and you look at everyone's numbers on those spreadsheets or whatever, everyone faces teams that are beat up. Everyone faces teams that get injured. The Chiefs are still executing at this level despite that. Last year, the Buccaneers went into overtime against the Chiefs defense without Mike Evans, without Chris Godwin. They had virtually nobody on offense besides Sterling Shepard and Cade Otton. This team executed at a high level and dominated a team they should have, and they deserve credit for it.
Couple super chats here. One from Edric, #free Achan, free Bradley Chubb, free Quinnen Williams, and free Breece Hall. I love that. By the way, if you are a Jets fan, if you are a Dolphins fan, oh man, the Dolphins game might have actually been worse because that was against the Browns. Tua Tagovailoa as Tua turned the ball over because he had 3 interceptions and it was an absolute and utter unmitigated disaster. I think that if you are actually a Raiders fan, you should feel good because the Raiders fans, at least you're not Miami. That is a rudderless ship in the night that is heading directly into an iceberg. Shout out to Wiley Possum. Shout out to Watson. Yet another very solid game. Now, again, Jalen Watson is playing like a back end CB1, top end CB2. You throw Noah Williams in the equation, and this is, again, one of the best cornerback groups in the entire NFL.
Real quick, since you mentioned Noah Williams, what the hell is he doing pushing somebody like 10 yards out of bounds? I mean, this guy might have a little too much dog in him.
I think he didn't know where he was at on the field, but that's still not a great excuse because that was so far out of bounds because I thought Josh Williams hit him out of bounds.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, so they called it on Williams. I'm like, okay, I see that. And all of a sudden you see 5 yards past the white line. You see Noah Williams. You go, okay, yeah, it's special teams. I don't know if it's a teaching thing where Tobe's just like, hey, be really physical because the Chiefs do get so many penalties on special teams.
He pushed the guy into Tobe, didn't he?
Yeah, it wasn't great, but didn't matter. That was one of the few plays. That one and McDuffie. I think McDuffie, that was a legit penalty on him on the Amenahu sack. You just can't turn them like that. But overall, this secondary played outstanding. I mean, They didn't run many plays. It's so tough to even get a great feel of how dominant they were. They were so dominant, it was tough to tell how dominant they were because you couldn't see the Raiders do anything. So little plays. Shout out, by the way, I like some underrated plays in this game. How about Travis Kelce's block to spring Kareem Hunt? The people that say Travis Kelce can't block right now, that sort of fan base is punching air because I thought Travis Kelce's blocking was just as important and as good as his receiving in this one.
Look like Patrick Ricard or something, a fullback, getting up in the A gap, right?
It was also really nice just to see Kareem Hunt come back in this game. Like, he's a sneaky important part of this team with the pass blocking. And, we talked about them just going drive for drive. How many times did Kareem Hunt come in and just extend a drive on 3rd and 4th? Like, having that short yardage back that he has been so good at, that's huge. I mean, it's not the tush push, but he's damn near that effective at short yardage. So that's a huge advantage for them. I was concerned to see him go down. Good to see him come back in the game. Looks like he's going to be okay. But yeah, I thought that play was huge. I also thought the Tyquan Thornton, him coming back and falling down and catching the ball. Obviously the score was in hand there, but I just, I wrote an article this week about how important I think it is to continue that chemistry with Tyquan Thornton and Patrick Mahomes and just the deep passing game in general. So that was also great to see.
Yeah, let's add some hardware. I mean, this was just such a fun game. It was a laugher. There's not a whole bunch to be, actually, there's nothing really to be upset about. There's nothing to scream about. This was just an ass kicking on display, and it was a noon game. I guess you can make the argument that this was a great thing to have happen with a lot of the talk of KC. I wonder if it was a way to almost fire them up earlier in the week, because you heard them talk about sometimes they come out sluggish for noon games because they're not used to playing noon games. And when I heard that, I'm like, I wonder if this is a way to almost light a fire under some of these guys saying, hey, we've noticed it's a nooner. Get up and kick some ass. And they did that. Let's hand out some hardware. Price, we'll start with you first.
Oh, I'm going to hand out two. First goes out to AJ Cole, punter of the Raiders. He got his work in today, buddy. Clock in, clock out. Way to grind, brother. He had some damn good punts in this game. First team All-Pro, dropping it inside the 10 a couple of times. Didn't matter because the Chiefs offense just strung together 3 straight touchdown drives of 80 yards or greater. But AJ Cole, way to earn that dollar bill and that hardware. Other piece of hardware, let's give it out. Let's do it to Rashee Rice. It would have been really easy for a guy with all the stuff he's got going off the field, all the extended delay, for him to come out and not look sharp, for him to drop a couple of passes, for him to not play well. And instead, he comes out, looks like himself, has an electric play with Patrick Mahomes with the no-look pass where he does the eye, like infinite aura, infinite juice. Love to see it. If this is the starting point for him this season, the only ceiling for him is what they put on themselves.
Best.
Yeah, I was going to do Rashee Rice too, but the only thing I'd add to that.
Pause, brother.
Okay. Is I mean, not only does he give you the Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of experience, but that back shoulder fade. We hadn't mentioned that yet. I think that's another wrinkle in the red zone that's really going to help the Chiefs. And they struggle at times in the red zone. But I'll give one out to Brashard Smith. He's going to be really important. I think there are limitations to what both Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt can do. And I know they play their guts out and they both bring some value, but this offense needs some juice from a running back. And also it needs a running back that can catch and get upfield. And we saw again, Pacheco drop a pass today. I just think he's going to be more and more important as the season goes on. Let's pray that he can pass block. Chris Jones, just looking like himself, imposing his will on the offensive line of the Raiders, given Jackson Powers Johnson. Is it Johnson Power? Who cares what his name is, Powers, right? Yeah. He got dominated. Powers. Yeah, it's Jackson Powers Johnson. But and then giving us the EGE celebration, just wonderful. Drinking. We're gonna call this the Grey Goose game because he's just taking pulls over there on the sideline. I don't know if that was water. It looked like vodka to me. We're gonna call it the Grey Goose game.
Oh man, I like calling it the Grey Goose game. I'm a big fan of alliteration over here. So best, I dig that. Everyone gets an arrowhead. Every Chiefs player gets an arrowhead. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? They were all
okay.
phenomenal.
Oprah,
you get an arrowhead. You get an arrowhead. Oh, man. I want to give one to Juwan. Offensive line in general, but I'm going to shout out a couple guys here. Jalen Moore yet again. Jalen Moore is stepping up. Kingsley Suamataia just continuing to progress. We know how good Creed is. We know how good Trey is. Let's hope Trey's okay. Let's hope Juwan's okay. Another, penalty-free game for Juwan Taylor. Nice to see. Shout out Mike Caliendo. Mike Caliendo came in, did a fine job in there. I'm just so impressed. You saw earlier in the game when Trey Smith came out, Mike Caliendo and Juwan Taylor. Wasn't it those two? It was those two. And Maxx Crosby was still in the game. And Maxx Crosby tried running on the inside and tried breaking it. And Juwan Taylor and Caliendo just sealed him off. And that was the one when they had five wide. And that was the Mahomes scramble for a first down. Or maybe he slid a half yard short, whatever it was. And I just sat there and go, that was one of the best reps you will see from a right guard and right tackle against an elite pass rusher. That is exactly what you're supposed to do, and Patrick read that perfectly. Want to give an arrowhead to a quarterback, Gardner Minshew, great kneel downs. Congratulations. Way to not just mess up the grass. Very proud of you. You got in the box score. He played an entire quarter and would not have been in the box score except for that kneel down. Let that sink in. They didn't let him throw. I'm a little upset they didn't let Gardner Minshew slang that rock around against his former team. You know he wanted to. Hey, line of scrimmage. Say, guys, come on. Play action. They're going to bite. Okay? This is not the Lions. We're not biting my kneecaps. They're going to bite, and we're going to throw a deep ball. That's what I wanted to see. Didn't happen, but shout out Gardner Minshew. Defensively, again, the D-line, we needed to see something. I do think there is something to the perpetual talk of the lack of pass rush from four guys. And so what did they do this game? I understand it's the Raiders. They showed up. They did what they were supposed to do. This team kicked ass. Sure. They were supposed to kick ass. They did. You love to see that. Any final parting thoughts? Best, we'll start with you.
Can we play the Raiders again next week? I mean, I think what I'm coming away from this game with is the Chiefs are 4-3. I mean, they're not really out of the hunt for the 1 seed with the way Buffalo has played lately and them dropping two games and their defense just not looking right. They're really in the hunt. And honestly, even though their record is a lot worse in this moment, I feel better about the Chiefs than I did a calendar year ago.
Price.
Yeah, I agree with you said. The pedal's got to stay to the metal. I mean, the Commanders, they are not what they were last year. I think that, frankly, they're not playing nearly as well as they were, and they just lost a kind of a heartbreaker to Chicago. They're coming in Arrowhead on Monday Night Football, and then it's the Bills game. You want to keep the 1 seed in sight, you gotta go up there and win that game, which is something they've struggled to do in the regular season. But it's all in front of them. Right? Like this division's very winnable. The Chargers are down 6-0 to the Colts, and they're playing their 6 and 7 string tackles right now because one of their tackles just left the game injured. And the Broncos are playing the Giants, which we'll see how that goes. But I mean, it's all in front of them. They still have the ability to win the division and to potentially even win the 1 seed. When the offense and defense are playing as complementary as they are right now, anything's possible.
Uh-oh, NFL. You hear that? Who's behind you? It's the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're coming.
The Undertaker meme, right?
Yes.
I'm trying. I don't know if my ab strength is quite enough to really do that. Doesn't matter. Chiefs are kicking ass, and the rest of the NFL should be terrified. They are back, and the defense is stepping up. Play calling, coaching staff, they are on their A game right now. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. This was a fun one. Nice to have a relaxing day. A nooner. Sit back, crack open a cold one. Let's watch some football. Let's hope some things fall the Chiefs' way. Let's get to the Tide for first in the AFC West. Let's make it double digits. 9 straight AFC West titles. Let's make it 10. Again, appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Until next time, we are out.